Alright everyone, we are starting a new reading vlog. This one is going to be Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It's a pretty big book. If you haven't heard about it before, I'm kind of surprised because this was all the rage like 2 years ago. It's a fantasy romance book, I believe. There's romance about dragons. And that's all I know. Dragon writers, people who love like How to Train Your Dragon have really loved this book. There's currently 3 books out in this series. This is the only physical book that I have, but the other 2 are on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm going to read. This is also on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm going to be reading this both physically and on Kindle Unlimited just to try to get through it because I can't be carrying around this gigantic book with me everywhere, but I would like to get through this book. This reading vlog is going to be different than my last reading vlogs because I've never read this before, so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know major plot points, anything like that. So we're going to be digesting it all for the first time together, and I'm going to give y'all my first take on literally everything that goes on in this book. So we're gonna see how this goes. I'm probably gonna include spoilers ahead, so if you haven't read the book and you care about spoilers, don't watch my video. I would love for you to watch my videos, but maybe on a book that you've read before. I do have other videos on my channel if you want to watch something else of my content, but if you don't care about spoilers and you haven't read the book, I'm going to be reading this. You can try reading it along with me as well. I'm going to keep up chapter wise of like where I am in the book. So yeah, that's it. I know literally nothing about this book, and I'm going to start reading it tonight at 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, let's get reading. Wait, don't mind the noise behind me because I'm watching Pride and Prejudice to fall asleep. But I just finished chapter 1 of the book, so I wanted to, like, I guess now that I kind of understand what's happening, give some context. The main character's name is Violet. She's the daughter of the general of like the writer's quadrant. There's like quadrants of like people based on their jobs. So there's like scribes, healers, writers, as in like dragon writers, not like writers. There was others that were mentioned, but Violet, the main character, until recently was training to be a scribe, and then her mother told her like 6 months ago to be a writer and go into training to become a writer. But it's like the whole process to becoming a writer is a 3-year-long process that is very dangerous, and like 50% of people don't make it. I can't tell if it's like all 3 years that statistic goes around, or if it's just the like, what was it, consignment, I don't know, the first day of choosing. I don't remember what the word is. So yeah, she's one of those quintessential like fragile, young, small fantasy leads that's like becomes like unbelievably talented, whatever. She starts, the first chapter is like the start of the like challenge that will make her become a writer, so she has to like pass this test basically, but the test is like dangerous. I'm getting like obstacle course vibes, but yeah, her sister, who is I think 3 years older than her, is also a writer. Her brother was also a writer, but he died in a war. And so her sister came to send her off, prepare her for the test, give her advice, stuff like that. Her sister also warned her off against, his name is Xavier, right? Zayden, sorry. It's the son of, like, the guy who killed their brother, but, like, their mom also killed his dad, so, like, there's a lot of bad blood between families, and she basically warned her that, like, that Zayden was gonna want to kill Violet on sight. Whatever. Violet sees him without knowing that it's him, and thinks he's the most stunning man known to Earth. Beautiful, handsome, whatever, all the things. You know the description of, like, when a main character meets another main character and you're like, no, yeah. So that should be interesting. They're having their first interaction at the end of the chapter, and it's giving enemies to lovers, you know? Also, the first person, like, the first side character has already died in this first chapter. So, love that for us. I remember someone saying, sorry, that this book is like How to Train Your Dragon meets Divergent, and I'm kind of getting that vibe, but it's also a little darker and, like, more adult than Divergent was, but, like, the different quadrants are kind of giving a Hogwarts house slash, what are they called in Divergent? No, I don't know. Whether they're, like, Dauntless or all that stuff. So it's like writers are kind of giving Dauntless kind of vibe. But yeah. Now that I kind of am understanding what's happening in this book through the first chapter, I hope it makes more sense as I continue going. I guess I could have also read, like, the synopsis, whatever, but sometimes it gives too much away. So yeah, I'm gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna read some more. I'm probably gonna go to bed, but I'll check in with y'all when I pick this book up again. Okay, it's been a while since I've updated y'all on this book, but I'm currently on chapter 12. The last time I talked to y'all, it was literally chapter 1, and I was getting a feel for everything. But, yeah, Violet made it across the little, it's called, like, the parapet. It's, like, the entrance into the writer's quadrant. It's, like, a challenge that you have to defeat to get in. A lot of people died in the process, whatever. She currently has gone through the entire 2-3 month process of, like, beginning training as a first year. I think it's been 3 months. It might be 2 months. I'm not 100% certain about that. The training has included hand-to-hand combat and what's called the gauntlet, as well as, like, actual classes with, like, history, battle strategy, stuff like that. Violet is a very small, petite, fragile, we don't like that term, but, like, she actually is, young woman. I think she's 18. I should probably know that. And, so the hand-to-hand combat stuff is not her forte at all. So what she was doing is she was actually, finding ways, because she works breakfast duty, or, like, food duty, that's, like, her job in the quadrant. She found ways to end up poisoning her opponents that she was fighting against every week, because so her brother had, like, left a diary to her sister full of advice and stuff to get her through. Her sister passed it on to her. So in this little diary journal, she learned a way, her brother, like, told her a way to learn who she's fighting each week before the fight actually happens. And with that information, she found ways to poison them all very differently by using herbs and stuff in their food, and, like, inebriated them enough that, yes, they still fought, but they like became unencumbered at one point, and so she won. She's won all of her fights except one, because she got the timing wrong on the last person she poisoned, and they didn't show up. And so Xaden, who is the enemy in this Enemies to Lovers book, I'll get more into that later. Actually, I should probably explain who he is. Xaden is the son of one of the rebels who, there was like a group of people who obviously rebelled against the current like military and fought against them in a war, and that caused the death of Violet's brother and the death of Xaden's dad at the hand of the general, Violet's mother. So Violet's mom killed Xaden's dad. And he's not the only one. There's like literally everyone they're like marked with a rebel something, and they were all, children of these people who were rebels were all forced to be in the Riders Quadrant, which is wild to begin with. Anywho, Xaden is her wing leader. So like they're separated into wings, and then from there into squads. And so they're in the 4th wing. Love when a title comes back. Xaden is her wing leader, and he volunteered to teach her a lesson and fight her in her last fight. And he didn't actually fight her. He just more showed that he could. He just chose to take all of her weapons away. I'm trying to think of the word that I'm looking for. Why can't I think of the word? It's too late at night. He took all of her weapons away to show that he could disable her ability to like hurt him, basically, other than hand to hand. And in the process, they kind of go back and forth every so often and have little moments of like, he sees everything they've had, like, I don't know. There's so many like little things that have happened to fuel their relationship. Violet has also met up with her like lifelong best friend who's a year older than her. He is her squad leader in the Riders Quadrant, and he is trying to get her to leave the quadrant and go back to being a scribe, which is what she's been training for her whole life. And yeah, so there's some animosity there because she has grown so much these past few months that like she just wants to prove to herself that she can do it, because Dane's telling her that she can't do it. Her mother, her sister thinks she can't do it. Like, everyone had been telling her that she wouldn't make it, she would get hurt, and they don't want to see her get hurt. But the only person through all of this who's like finding ways to actually support her, weirdly, is Xaden. But he also like kind of wants to kill her at the same time, so I'm like, it's just so good. But yeah, they're currently at the Gauntlet Challenge, which is how they get like up to where the dragons live. It's like a vertical obstacle course. There we go. And so they've been training on that for a while, and this is like presentation day, so it's their last time that they're supposed to do this, and then they present themselves. All that remain present themselves in front of the dragons, and then the dragons get to choose if they want to be a part, like want to choose a rider out of the group that they see. And then later on there'll be the reaping. No, that's the wrong word. The day when the dragons choose all their riders. So yeah, that's where I'm at. She actually, for the first time, completed the gauntlet, which is good because it's, the last day. So she completed the gauntlet, and now they're on to about to meet the dragons. And yeah, I'm only on chapter 12, so I'm like, I'm really not concerned, but like, I just don't know how much is going to happen in this book, because for reference, let me find my little bookmark here. I don't know where it's at. Give me a second. Wow. Oh yeah. For reference, I'm that much into the book. Like, I would call that maybe a quarter of the way. Maybe 2/3 of the, or a third in away into the book. But yeah, that's basically like the big thing that's happening. Oh, the threshing. Got it. The threshing is where they choose dragons, but also like the dragons attack them at the same time, and it's a free for all among all of the cadets, the first years. So there's a lot of death in this book. So yeah, I'm gonna read. I probably won't update y'all again for a bit, but that's what I know so far. Okay, so much has happened in this book since I last updated you, because I am actually almost done with it, and I think I last updated you verbally when she hadn't even been bonded with a dragon yet. And so she went through the gauntlet, she went through all the things. I'm going to kind of breeze through most of the story so I don't have to hit every single plot point or anything like that. I want to give more of my opinion on everything and the way, what I enjoyed, what I did, all the things. The major thing you need to know that like is really important, obviously, is that she doesn't bond with just one dragon, she bonds with two. And that becomes controversial in and of itself, because so she gets bonded with like the largest dragon, the best dragon that there is to bond with. That's like, he's second to one, and that dragon is bonded to the general of the army, or not the general, the major. Anyways, the other one, they call them feathertails, and humans think that it's just a weaker breed of dragons that just don't mate, but in all actuality they are baby dragons. And so she got bonded to a baby dragon, and this other dragon, his name is Terran. Amazing character, by the way. Big thing about the baby dragon is they can't keep their like siphoning abilities as far as like magic, whatever, because obviously there's magic, aren't as controlled as, say, a older dragon, a mature dragon, because the dragon has no control over when the rider can like funnel their power, and there's not really as much limit, but it also severely drains the dragon. And so you find that out in a moment. Violet gets attacked in her sleep, and her power from the baby dragon is, I think the baby dragon name is Andorra. Basically, she stops time, which is wild, because their skills are also much greater as babies. It's a very different process. Anyways, she bonds with Terran, but Terran is mated to Sigal. I don't know how to say the dragon's name, but it's Xaden's dragon that they're bonded, that the dragons are mated. And the way that mated dragons work is like they die. It's like they're in love with each other. If one dies, the other dies from heartbreak, basically. But it also works the same with riders, where a dragon is so invested in a rider that they feel the pain of their death. And Terran's last rider that died almost killed him in the process of his death. And that connection is supposed to amplify the more riders that a dragon has. So basically, if Violet dies, Xaden dies. And so he ends up protecting her and finding a way to like make sure that she like never is in trouble, but also in the process, instead of just coddling her like Dane, he trains her, and he makes his friends train her, and she starts weightlifting, and she starts combat training, and she gets special training from him to stay on her dragon, because she's small and this giant dragon is gigantic, and so she can't stay seated on. Dragons have like a built-in spot where riders sit. They don't have saddles, or they don't usually have saddles. And so Xaden's doing all these things to make her better and to make her well off, in the name of like doing it because it makes him live, but like his actions say otherwise, basically. Beautiful idea, just like concept that like his actions are speaking louder than his words. And I love Violet as a main character so much because this woman is honest, she knows what she wants, and she goes after it. And kudos to her, man, because there would be so much more conflict. I feel like this book could have lasted 3 books if she was any other main character. Anyways, Xaden's protecting her. He ends up making a saddle for her out of leather, like making her a saddle. Anyway, oh, I'm going off on a tangent. Violet has this very strong connection to Xaden, and it becomes more prominent because when you're connected to a dragon, you start to feel what they feel until you have the ability to block it. And, you know, dragon made it to dragon. They both, Violet and Xaden, can feel when they're getting hot and heavy, basically. And so they kind of get caught up in a moment. That's when they have their first kiss. Whatever. Xaden like pushes away. And you can kind of tell, like, he doesn't say it, but you can kind of tell that he doesn't want to continue because he's afraid that Violet doesn't actually want him. Violet's just like succumbing to the lust. Anyways, Violet ends up falling in love with him because obviously his actions speak louder than his words. And so there's multiple times where she basically ends up convincing him to trust her and let his guards down because she can see how he feels even if he's not willing to say it. And so she's very upfront and honest about the way she feels, and even honest about the way he feels because she knows. Like, he doesn't have to say it, but she knows that she means a lot to him and that their connection is more than just their dragons. And so they end up together, obviously, through the course of the rest of the semester. Like, we get to like 10 days before graduation, 6 days, some length of time before graduation, and they end up getting close. She falls in love with him, obviously, and they decide to like actually give it a try. And then they go into their like final challenge of the year, which is war something or another. Anyways, another big plot point that like matters is mated dragons can't stay away from each other for that long. So like they tested it out for a hot second. It lasted 3 days. And so, yeah, so many things that I just love about this book. Xaden's ability, like, want to sacrifice his, like, make his life harder to make Violet's life easier. Beautiful, beautiful. But we get to the war games. Obviously, Xaden is a wing leader, which is, so there's like wings, there's like there's something, and then there's sections. Dane is Violet's section leader, but Xaden is like the wing leader of the 4th wing. And so the wing leaders get to make their own little circle coveted group during the war games while the rest of the sections are planted within their region, play a war game basically. But I have gotten to the part of the book where they have split off into this, and Violet has learned that Xaden has very ulterior motives, ulterior plans as far as his loyalty to the kingdom, because there's a lot more happening outside of the ward, the walls, the borders of this kingdom than what people are being told and what people are actually doing about. So there's these people called Vernon who, instead of having a dragon or it's not Wyron, it's Griffin, no. Oh, I don't know what the other one is. But instead of sharing that power with a creature, they're deriving that power directly from the earth and in turn like using up all of the power. And these people, to the knowledge of Violet, were myths. They were folklore. They weren't real. But she had learned that Xaden is actually he's working with the supposed enemies of Navarre, this country, to protect them from the Wyran. What's the word I said? One of those. Because in Navarre, their little protection keeps them safe from the Vernon, because they can't use their magic on the inside. So why would they use their magic on the inside? But in the process, leaves the rest of the people on the outside of the border dying. And so she's at the point now that she's like come to terms with the fact that the people in power in this country are not doing anything to help other people. They're so stuck in their own world that they have the ability to stop it, and they're not. And so she's upset because Xaden didn't tell her the truth and didn't let her in on all of this. I'm literally like almost done with the book. And so she's coping with this while also trying to cope with the fact that like the history she has learned is not actually history. It is rewritten history. She got like, it's just so much is happening. That's the main rest of the book, and I so want to finish this tonight, and so I'll give you my final thoughts once I'm done with this. I have like maybe 2 more chapters left, and then I'll be on to the next book. Wait, I gave myself a spoiler, because the last chapter of the book is in Xaden's perspective. Okay, I have to read this now. I have to stop talking to you because I need to finish this now. Okay, it's currently almost 1 a.m. and I finished the book, and I said I wasn't gonna talk to you guys until after I finished, or like in the morning, but like I'm done and I need to talk about it. First off, sorry, I'm like awestruck by the ending here. I'll start at the end then. Her brother is alive. Her brother is alive. Okay, so they end up going to the outpost where they're supposed to be stationed. No one's there. Absolutely no one. It's a trap. They are stuck where they knew this attack was going to be by the Vernon. There's a Vernon attack. Wild. So basically it's just a whole battle scene or whatever. Liam ends up dying. I don't know if I mentioned Liam. Liam was a first year who chose to protect Violet when Xaden couldn't, because Xaden's a 3rd year. Whatever. Liam dies and I start crying my eyes out. Really uses up all of her power, all the things, whatever. Love a good lightning power. I didn't mention this earlier either, but her signet gives her lightning power. Slay. But she ends up, before that, she gets stabbed with a poisoned sword. And it's poisoned. And so she's like gonna die. And they're like 12 hours away from home. And so Xaden ends up taking her to his like hometown, home city that's supposed to be destructed because his parents or his dad like led a rebellion and it like burned down the city, but they're rebuilding the city, so that was whatever. And it turns out her brother, who's alive, who was supposed to be dead, healed her and is also part of this rebellion that is forming to, you know, overthrow people and support the outsider. But like, also, I understand like breaking of trust and that Xaden has to regain that. And that man is fighting for his life. He is fighting for Violet, and I appreciate it because he knows he loves her. And he's not giving up on her. Even though they're fighting, even though they're going through a rough patch, even though she doesn't trust him, he's going to do everything in his power to make her trust him. And I'm like, This book is so good. Okay, now I so want to read the other two that are out currently. But also, I've heard so many people say not good things, not like bad things about the second one. But like, they didn't love it as well as much as the first or the third. So I'm like, it's probably just a very like action heavy book. Violet and Xaden are on the outs, so like they're fighting. Like, no, it's not lovey-dovey, whatever. But I'm so excited to read this. I'm gonna have to go to bed here now, but like, oh my goodness, this book is so good. So good. But yeah, I'm definitely giving this 5 stars. I don't know how many days this took me to read, but like, I flew it through it like that. I've stayed up till 1 o'clock for the past like 3 nights reading my book. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed reading that book for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna keep making these videos because it's making me, I like being able to discuss what I'm reading. That's it. Okay. If y'all like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below about what book I should read once I'm done with this series. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, lovelies.